Hey everyone, I am joined today with the cast of Vela. It's a beautiful story. It's a short film that just released on the channel. It's a story about a father and daughter reconnecting after the passing of her mother, all centered around Dia de los Muertos. It's fantastic. If you haven't seen it yet, go back and check it out before watching this interview because there may or may not be some spoilers, and it'll just be kind of a little bit of a better experience if you do so. But to each of you guys here, thank you so much for doing this interview and sharing your beautiful short film with us.
You're
Thank
very
you for
welcome.
having
Thank you
us.
for having us.
Perfect. I love it. So one of my favorite things to kind of open this up, especially when we're talking with cast members, is just to go around and tell me a little bit about each of your roles that each the characters that you play in the short film and what it was when you read the script or kind of were prepping for an audition, like what was it that kind of drew you to A, this story and B, these particular characters?
I play Jimena. She is the lead of this beautiful story. And I think the thing that really drew me to it was how close to home it felt and how grounded in reality it was, even though it is this gothic, sort of mystic and almost fantastical story of the dead and of course, Dia de los Muertos, the story of La Catrina. It's it just felt so real to me, and reading it, I was really able to put myself into Hime's shoes and feel everything she was feeling. And I think the writing was just the thing that drew me in the most. But yes, Jimena is our main character. She is sort of the heart of the story, I think. And yeah, I'm very, very grateful to have gotten to play her.
That's amazing. We'll definitely dive into a little more of kind of why it really felt so close to home for you in a moment. But Mario, why don't we hear from you? Tell me a little bit about your character and what it was that drew you to the story and the role.
Karim, the father, uh, their uh, their struggle as a family, um, with just trying to identify and navigate just personal struggles with having to be in a new place that's foreign to them
Mm,
and everything that that means. It was very relatable, just because I mean, my family. uh Something similar, not as not nothing to do with deaths or anything like that, but just the hardworking dad who's just gonna just dig in every day and try to come home with very little left and just give everything that he can, um to his family, to just be present. It can be very difficult. um so at the
yeah,
time when I first saw the script and got to kind of get to know the character a little bit better, it was something so different than anything that I'd done before and that it had been doing. So I was very intrigued and very excited to jump on the project right away.
that's amazing. Carolina, was it a relatively similar experience for you as well?
Yes, yes. So my first initial thought with the script was I'm Brazilian, not Mexican, but I speak Spanish too, and I always wanted to tell a bilingual story. And not only was I excited to play Alma and to be the mother in the film, but I also really wanted to be the narrator because I've always wanted to tell a story in Spanish. I hadn't gotten to do that yet on film, only in voiceovers and commercials, and I was just like itching to tell a story in my native language because I grew up in Spain, so that was my first language. And then aside from that, there were so many cool bits of this story that related to my life in that moment. It was totally serendipitous, and we still laugh about it, Mario and I, and Veronica, because Mario plays a character named Karim. My husband's name is Kareem.
Oh
Um,
wow.
Expecting mother at the time when I shot this film. We hid my belly a little bit, but I was about almost 6 months pregnant and of my first,
Wow.
and I'm still just a mom of one so far, but she's about a year and a half now. And I was really excited to play a mom while I was expecting my first child. And it was just really special. I was a ball of emotion and it was a very emotional film. So, all of it just translated. And I've always also felt really connected to Dia de los Muertos because I just find, even though it's not a part of Brazilian culture per se, it's very much a part of Latin culture. And I've always thought that tradition was really beautiful, a way of honoring your loved ones and thinking of them even after they've passed and keeping their memory alive.
It's really interesting hearing from you guys, like very, three different kind of approaches and personal connections to the story. Um, Veronica, you mentioned that there was something like really deeply kind of personal and related to this. Do you mind sharing a little bit more about kind of your connection?
Of course. I had experienced something similar like Mario, not exactly what Hime was experiencing, but my family was going through a lot of grief. And just in the moment, the story felt like such a light because not only was it an outlet for me to express my grief and everything I was feeling, um, but also it just felt just I can't even put it into words. I felt so connected to it. Also, when I went to the audition, Esteban was asking me some questions. He asked where I was from, what high school I was going to, and turns out we were from the same town, lived literal streets away from each other, and I'm going to the same high school that he went to. And there were so many small connections between him and I that we had found out almost a year after filming. So there was just so many things that I was like, I think this film was one of my callings, and I was truly just so connected to this film in so many ways.
It's always nice when you hear some of those stories like behind the story or kind of what those kind of interconnections are because you can feel it on screen like just how it's a very deeply emotional story. And it's really interesting like hearing the perspectives that you guys all three of you got to bring to this story. Um, I'm curious like kind of as you're preparing for these performances. Was there anything that like it kind of was going through your mind, knowing like kind of how emotional it is and traditional it is, and that whole, mix of joy and remembrance that's kind of all part of it. Um, was there anything that you were like kind of really trying to tap into as you were preparing for the roles?
Yeah. Um, Again, I was just harnessing a lot of the grief I was feeling, and throughout the filming process, we also incorporated a lot of things that felt personal to us. So the necklace that Alma wears in her scene is one of the necklaces that I brought in. The skirt that Jimena wears, I made. Even down to the stuffed animals on her bed. There were small personal details that we added just to make it us feel more connected to the characters. So that was something that really helped me tap into this character and sort of become her for the short amount of time we were filming.
I know that for Esteban, the script and the story and everything that he was trying to put out there came from a very personal place for him. And um, you know, being somebody who's just, it's so easy to um just not realize how many people are going through things. And, something that could be small and insignificant for one person could be everything to somebody else.
Mm.
So, to kind of, dive into that and dive into grief and people's issues and, try to beautifully visualize all of that and incorporate that into a beautiful Mexican tradition. It was tough for me, but at the same time, it was a very good learning experience.
Mm.
Um, and I was able to get myself um, to that point as an actor where I could feel that, you know what, I'm really deep into this right now, and that was through, working with very talented people like Carolina and Veronica, and being able to have very difficult conversations with Esteban as well.
They both hit it on the head. Honestly, I just want to expand on that. Veronica said it so well. Like there were little personal touches. I wore this, I call it my Stevie Nicks like duster th shawl thing. It was like it was two parts, twofold. One, I love wearing it, and two, it hid my belly. But just everything that Esteban kind of worked with us on preparation with our characters emotionally, and then also the team that helped us dress ourselves or bring something along that was meaningful. All of that really, really helped to step into character. Esteban, just like Mario was saying, had he's an incredible knack for bringing out the best in anybody, and he's just the kindest, most talented, and just open director that I think I've ever worked with, and he's a dream to work with.
That's amazing. And that's actually a really perfect segue into my next question, which was just to bring it to, your time on set and what it was like working with directly with Esteban and the whole crew as well, and just kind of your time on set. Veronica, like we'll circle back around to you, and I'd love to hear your experience.
Huh. I think I had a very unique experience, um, because Esteban and we just hit it off immediately. And with all these, so many connections that we had, we became very, very close. And I'm so grateful to still have the chance to work with him and to still consider him a friend. He really just helped everything feel, I'm going to use the word connected and grounded a lot because that's what it was. We were all very, very connected. We were all very sort of grounded in these roles. Um, and again, I can't even put into words how incredible Esteban is. The way that he directs, you can see and feel all the passion that he has for this project. It comes through with every movement, every note he gives. It's truly beautiful to watch, and I'm just so grateful to have been able to work with him. But yeah, I think I remember moments on set where I would be in the sort of green room area that we had, whether it be working on compositions or doing homework, and he would just sit there and we would talk and have these beautiful, meaningful conversations that I think just helped bring the story to life so much better.
That's amazing. Was it a relatively similar experience for you, Mario?
Yeah, I wanna keep Esteban as humble as possible. So what's up? But no, just in general, I mean, what I found just very, very special and connected to was just how much everybody cared. From from the people working on the cinematography, the people behind the cameras, the sound people, the makeup people. You could tell everybody was just so passionate about it, and they cared so much, and they just wanted to do their best, and they did. They did an amazing job, and that's not it's not always something that you see when you're on set. Um, for other kinds of projects, right? Sometimes it's very, very rushed. This let's get this done. It's we got to move on to the next scene. Let's do this. Whereas this, everybody just you know, checks and balances, make sure everything was good. If it wasn't perfect, let's do it again. And I love that. Like I loved how much care and preparation everybody took to make sure that this was done right and that the vision was delivered the way that it was intended.
Yeah, that's fantastic. Like I can totally feel it, watching the short, right down to the set design, especially with the altar that you guys are kind of congregating at, or like the costumes like are just nailed, and the makeup is incredible for it all too. Like it's just everything is just really melding together in a really nice way that doesn't feel like there's definitely the version of this that gets into kind of more of a horror or fantastic kind of standpoint, but it doesn't ever hit that. Like there's elements of the looming presence, but it's not like a fearful thing. I think it's so intentional, and you can really feel it in all of those beats that you guys kind of got to work with. Carolina, I'll throw it over to you.
Same for me, and all the little details that we had of how they cared for us, and making sure the pregnant lady was hydrated, or just like Esteban making sure we were good, we felt comfortable. We had lovely conversations within the castmates, on time off, and all of it felt pretty seamless. Honestly, it was very well organized, and yeah, I really enjoyed our rehearsals as well, even before we started shooting. The time to connect, and again, he took that time, like Mario was saying, to really not only get to know us, but to make sure we felt like we were comfortable in the characters and we understood our characters, and if we had any questions, he really went above and beyond that way, and every member of the team did as well. Like you said, even with the makeup, like I really
Mhm.
felt like I was dying in that scene with my daughter, which was definitely the most emotional scene. And I was really excited to get to that point of shooting. And when I had that makeup on me, I really felt transformed, and it helped step into the role so much easier. Yeah, even from when we like recorded the voiceover for the narrations, and I was like in a closet, but like they made sure it was comfortable in there, and like stuff like that. And then down to even just the detail of the photographs that we had around the house.
Ooh.
Just so real, because they were literally us. We did those photos. And then I was able to show my belly as if, I was pregnant with little Veronica, with Jime. And in those photos, and it was really me pregnant. And so walking around the set and seeing those pictures made me feel so at home as well. Like it was my house.
That's amazing. It's like those little details that really help just like you can feel it, but sometimes you can't tangibly kind of articulate why you're able to feel it that way, and it's really cool to hear. Um, and it's really, you guys are speaking, I think, a lot to Esteban's character as well. I mean, in even in setting this up, normally I reach out to the director first to be like, hey, do you want to come and do like a little Q&A, and we'll have it up with the video. And he was like, well, I've done a whole bunch of them with the festival circuit that I got to do. I'd really love for my cast members to have a chance to kind of talk about their experience on the film. And it's just nice hearing that it's like he brought that in every step of the process and really made sure like everyone was kind of taken care of. I think that speaks volumes about him as a both as a director and as a person. I think that's fantastic to hear. Um, the last thing that I love wrapping up these conversations with, especially with actors, is what did you learn during the process of making this film, or what was something that sort of surprised you about the process of kind of stepping into these characters' roles, or something about the story, or anything along those lines?
The thing that I learned from Hime was to feel. I feel every emotion that comes up and not to push them away. I think that was a personal learning that I kind of got from Hime. Just from this whole experience, I think it's just to really live in the moment, because it was such a short filming experience and it was absolutely incredible. It was an incredible time filming, and I wish that I had sort of taken a moment to step back and be like, okay, wow, this I'm doing this, because it was some very fond memories were made, and I wish I could say just one thing that I learned, because there were so many and so many good memories made on that set.
A lot of the time, us as actors, we can kind of say, oh, you know what, yeah, it's nice to pretend, for a living. We're pretending this, pretending that. But when it's something that's so personal, to so many people, and something that can be so difficult, but at the same time, beautiful, it there's there's no way that you don't get personally drawn into it,
Hmm.
and that you don't, and I feel like that was the really beautiful part of it, was that, me, knowing the abilities that I have, it kind of pushed it a little bit further, where, I can remember I had one scene, um, the one scene where I walk in, and I see the altar, and I turn to Hime, um, and how upset I was, and how upset I truly was. Like, I remember, after they cut that scene, I remember I looked at Veronica, and I said, I feel like I need to cry right now.
Yeah.
Like I need to cry or I need to punch something. Like I need to do something. So I'm gonna go over here and calm down for a little bit, you know?
You can really feel that intensity in that moment. Like it's all there. I can totally imagine needing that moment after, just to be like, just before we do another take, before we move on to another scene, just give me a moment here. Carolina, how about you?
Oh, wow. I mean, there's so many things I took away from it, but definitely I learned to trust myself also and just let it flow. And for sure, I learned that when you're on a set that makes you feel so comfortable, and so at home, even with something, so I don't want to say dark, but I was dying, so it was really sad and letting myself feel that, but also wanting to be strong for my daughter
Mm.
and having all these emotions at the same time, plus all the pregnancy hormones to
Yeah.
like, allow it to flow naturally and honestly, and just trusting myself to let that happen if the moment moved me and if it organically came out in the scene. And I was really, just really excited about the way that it all came together. And yeah, I don't know. There's so much. There's so much I learned. There's so much I took away, honestly, but that's the first thing that comes to mind for sure.
Yeah. I mean, I feel like it's every project that we do, right? You always walk away from any day on set, just, any viewing, even the experience of premiering is it's a different experience. I mean, you get to see it back, you get to see that finished product, and even there's a learning process that happens there too. So it's yeah, I mean, it's not always like a big specific moment. It's sometimes just that accumulation of like all the little things that kind of piece together along the way. Um, I think I'm just gonna say thank you guys so much again for coming on here and telling us all about your story and then the journey to making this film. It's a wonderfully beautiful film. Anyone watching right now, if you made it to the end of this and you haven't seen it, or you already did, go back and watch it or rewatch it. Give it the likes, the comments, all that fun stuff. But thank you all again so much.
Thanks so much for having us, Michael.
Thank you so much.
This was a pleasure.